What's going on, everybody? This is Andrew with the Prime Investigator Advice Podcast. This is Tech News Tuesday for January 28th, 2014. Let's get right into it.
This is a PI Advice Podcast.
I'll be honest here. I was stressing out I was going to be able to make this podcast, but looks like I'm going to be able to pull it together for you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. I think we did this 3 weeks in a row now, so very cool. If you haven't heard the podcast before, my name's Andrew. I'm going to be your host for today's podcast, just like every other one. Hope everybody's doing good. It's just like, what is it? It's like 5 more days to the Super Bowl. How cool is that? I'm actually really excited about it. Seattle's going to be there. Denver. I think it's going to be a good game. Offense, defense. I hope it's not like a blowout, because then I'll think that's kind of a bummer. But whatever. So I keep my eye on the news this week, and one of the things I think it either came up this week or last week was apparently some woman had been got pulled over for speeding or something to that effect, and she was given an additional ticket for wearing Google Glass. And I was like, well, I don't have cable. I'm sure this was on the news somewhere around the world way back when she got it. But so she went to court for it, and both of them were dropped. The speeding for whatever, I guess they couldn't prove that she was speeding, and the other one was because she got a ticket for wearing Google Glass because apparently in the state where she got the ticket, you're not allowed to have a visual monitor in the car, which I think is kind of weird because in everybody's car, like there are GPS devices, even your radio can be considered a visual monitor. Anything that you're going to look at could be a monitor of some sort. I'm sure maybe they have specific things they want to say about it. But so this lady gets this ticket for that. Anyways, so she gets dropped because they can't prove that it was on. There's no way for that officer to prove it was on, so it was dropped. And so that, that kind of was interesting. I was like, is that really that much to talk about? Not really, right? But then another article came out. Let's see here. It was about 5 days ago. And I read this, so Fox News reports. A lot of people report it, but it said feds question a man for wearing Google Glass in a movie theater. And apparently this man is wearing Google Glass, but he has prescription lenses in his Google Glass. So it's dual functioning, right? So he's actually using them to see. So I guess he was questioned outside the theater prior to going in, and then he goes in there and, he gets in trouble, basically. They start questioning because apparently movie theft is huge, or it's a big, big deal. And either way, the guy kind of sounded like, who's like oblivious to even thinking about that, like, oh, yeah, I guess I could have done that, but I didn't even think of it. I'm not, that just wasn't his frame of mind. His frame of mind wasn't to fraud or to steal anything. It was just, usually people get attention in general when they're wearing Google Glass. And, I've been wanting to talk about Google Glass, and I'm no pro on it, and I don't profess to know everything that Google Glass can to do at this moment. I know it takes pictures, and I've seen people, kind of show that it shows cards. It's kind of in a sense of that's how it functions, and it has to connect to your phone. But I think one of the reasons why Google Glass gets that negative attention right now is because it's still so new, and not everybody has it. So it's very exclusive to, there's only, if I was to say there was 100, or if I was to say there was, 500 out there, you'd say it was a lot, but really it's not, considering, that only probably special people, in the tech world are getting to use these people, or high profile people that have a platform to talk about these things, kind of to help promote them. But once these things do become mainstream, because Google's making their Google Glass, but I've got to believe there's some other companies out there in the process of making something very similar to this. And I think I've come across, I just can't think of the name, but this is going to be mainstream eventually. I mean, once it gets past that whole honeymoon phase of, oh, look how cool that is, it's going to be mainstream, and the technology is going to get better, and things are going to get smaller, and people are going to use them for Google Maps. And they've talked about like facial recognition. I don't know if that's ever going to happen. I foresee that happening in the future, but yeah, I in the PI world, if this thing was mainstream, think about how easy our world would be in regards to being able to videotape what we're just seeing. Who knows what the zoom will be, or just being able to take pictures, casually, because if it's, if it's common, if it's so common, everyone has like a cell phone, right? Like when I was in high school, like nobody had a cell phone. Like, and if you did, you were paying crazy prices and you just had it for a status. But now people can't live without cell phones or giving up their home phones. But we would have never thought it would have been so mainstream. But look at it now. I mean, everybody has one. Even teenagers have them. Young kids have, special phones. They have limited capabilities, but they have phones. So I don't think that these Google Glass, we're far from that. As long as people want it and they have a demand for it, I mean, they could be very mainstream, and if someone wore Google Glass, they'll be like, yeah, so what? Like, wow, big deal. And I think in our industry, that'll help us a lot in regards to what we need to do when we want to record things, and videotape, the bad guy or the cheating spouse or whatever it is, without having to. And of course, the great thing about it is, well, one of the bad things is you have to kind of look at them, right, what you're doing, but it's not this blind videotaping effort when you're doing covert video. Like you have to just really know what your camera's doing, even though you can't see the result. So a lot of practice and a lot of trust and a lot of crossing your fingers, hoping the device doesn't fail. So I don't know. I think this is, again, it's not mainstream. They haven't perfected the Google Glass, but I expect them to. They're making things smaller and smaller every day. I think that, and one of the things that really bothered me about this story, about this guy getting, harassed, is, how many people could just not could just use their phone to do that? Why, why go through the big hassle of making yourself obvious with Google Glass to record something when people could just take their cell phones or video cameras for that matter? Look, You're telling me I can't stick this little camera in my pocket? I do stick it in my pocket, even though this one's out of commission and it's just for show now. It doesn't take much now. These cameras are extremely small. It's not like you're bringing in the hefty cameras back in the day to record these things. So if you're really trying to pirate video and still stuff, a couple of old, iPhones, that you're not using anymore could, record a whole movie, and you could just put it all together if you really wanted to. Don't get any ideas. That's not what I'm telling you. I'm just saying. What else do we got here? So something came out. This guy named what's his name here? What's his name? Matt Cutts. So Matt Cutts is kind of like the I don't know. He's kind of like the guy who tells you what's okay to do on the internet, what's not okay. When it comes to when they put out these updates, and they call them Panda and whatever animal else they're updating, and it changes the way maybe they get rid of the spammier sites and things like that. But it's in this particular one, he talks about the decay and fall of guest blogging for SEO. And what that means is, like, in the internet marketing world, when you're trying to, not only like gain authority, right? So let's say you're a private investigator out there, and you want to, work on getting your new website that you got from Investigator Marketing. You want to work on that, right? But you want to get it ranked up. and you want to climb up, the ladder on the pages of Google, and so you can get up towards the top. So when people start making their phone calls, you're right up there, one of the first to call. Well, what they do, one of the strategies for people who want to get noticed is they do guest blogging, and this serves several purposes. One of them is it. You could put your, for instance, you could guest blog on Pursuit Magazine, which is like a private investigator website that, has different articles from different authors, right? So you could be like, let's see, I have it up here somewhere. You could be like a very good blogger, like Brian Willingham, right, from Dagenta, right? And I've talked about him before, so this is no surprise to you. But he's he knows what he's talking about. He's a good blogger. Now, Brian can do this guest blogging on Pursuit Magazine for two reasons, right? So one of them is he's making this great article, and you're reading it, and he's putting his name there, and at the end of the article, say, Brian Willingham can be found at Dagenta, whatever, his business is. And you go and read it. And now you could either be another private investigator, or maybe you came across his article, and it happened for whatever reason. You're looking for a private investigator, and now you found it on Pursuit Magazine, and you go to his website, and then you go and hire him for something. So it's kind of like that notoriety. It's a way for him to be found. And he builds kind of clout and trust with not only the private investigators around here for, trust is everything. You want to be able to trust, if you hand out work to somebody or give it to somebody or have them do work for you wherever you are. But the second thing is that when you link back from a website, so Brian Willingham, we'll use him as an example. He goes and writes an article for Pursuit Magazine, and he links back to his website. In other words, there's some hyperlink. There's a link there that they click on. It goes back to his website where he is. Google looks at that as like Pursuit Magazine saying they're good. We're referring to them because we're like giving them the thumbs up. It's like a point system. Like, yeah, they're good. And since Pursuit Magazine is a reputable, it's a trustworthy website. It's not spammy. It's very informative, and it sticks to the topic of private investigations, whatnot. That Google will, look at that and go, okay, Pursuit Magazine's kind of given Dagenta Magazine a nod, and so therefore they will trust Brian Willingham's website a little bit more, and which will help him move up the ranks for specific keywords like Private Investigator New York or whatever it is. And so what Matt Cutts over here to bring this back to technology and whatnot, so Matt Cutts is saying, it's like, look, that's all fine and well if you want to do guest blogging. But what starts to hurt the guest blogging scene is when, let's say, Brian writes this killer article and he posts it on his website first, and then he posts it on Pursuit Magazine, and then he goes to PrivateInvestigatorMagazine.com and posts it over there, and it's the same stuff or parts of the same stuff going to these different places. Well, now it turns spammy. It becomes unoriginal content that's being spread around, almost like copied, right? So it's very important that so Brian will probably get all the great credit for the article on his website, but anywhere else it could actually damage the reputation, because Google knows that article, that those whatever you wrote will be found originally somewhere else first, because they indexed it first and they know it was there first, and now they're finding stuff, identical content. So Matt Cutts is saying, look, if you want to do it, great, be 100% original. So if you decide you're a private investigator agency and you write for Pursuit Magazine, be 100% original. It's got to be your words. Don't copy from another website. Be well written. He says, be relevant to your audience. So, obviously, if you're going to write private investigation stuff, right, or background tips or whatever it is, might be good to keep it on the private investigator, level. So, you go to Pursuit Magazine, you go to Private Investigator Mag, maybe you guest blog on another private investigation website. Your buddy over in Texas, he needs some content for his blog, so you post an original article over there, and make it exclusive to you. So that's it. So you post it there. That's it. It's not going anywhere else, and that will give that article the most power. Of course, you want to link back to your website to give yourself a little thumbs up. So. With that being said, it looks like Google's paying a little more attention to this guest blogging thing and original content, which they always have, but they're trying to make sure that, they let everybody know, like, hey, it's not going to be acceptable anymore if you're taking, if you're just rewording articles and then resending them out or selling them. Because sometimes companies will come to me, even to me, it happens to me all the time. And at first I was kind of flattered. It's like these companies will go, hey, we have several private investigation articles we'd like to pay you to put on your website, and I've always said no. And then as now we're in a couple of years into my blog, I'm even more adamant about it because first of all, I don't know who these people are. They're giving me random content. I don't need the content. I make the content. I write myself, so I'm not like desperate for it. I make the podcast and do the videos and the blog, so I don't need it. So it's not, and the money they offer is nothing if it's going to ruin the integrity of my blog. And if I don't trust it, I'm not going to have someone pay me some money and then give me some crap that I have to post and that I don't believe in or I don't trust. And I don't know where it's come from. Like, I don't know how many times they posted it somewhere else. So, and then I'm going to post it, no, thank you. So, just keep that in mind. I know this is probably a little more advanced than most private investigation agencies are used to hearing about, but keep that in mind. But on the flip side, you might want to think about guest blogging. It might, you have to write it and post it in one place. Don't repost it somewhere else because it'll lose the power of the article. But you might want to think about it just to get some backlinks to your website. Make sure you post it on places that are, in the same genre, either private investigative websites or other blogs out there that are PI related. So yeah, that'll do that. Okay, the last thing for Tech News Tuesday, and I kind of teased about it a little bit last week, but it has to do with this thing called if I can find it here, it'll be totally awesome, Neptune Pine. It's, I'm really digging the smartwatches. I dig the Google Glass thing. I'm really looking forward to that because I think, we can do the map thing and maybe, facial recognition sometime when you're having a hard time identifying your claimant. But watches is one of those things that should have been done a long time ago, and really done well. And so I was watching all these smartwatch reviews and they're all like, well, we can do, whatever. And I think I talked about it. It was like Yelp and things like that, and instantly, and my phone changes faces, and that's fun. That's fun. That's great for some people, but for the private investigator, I thought, we need a little bit more. And then I saw this thing called the Neptune Pine, and this watch is probably, if you see in the screen here, it's a pretty big square, but it's not like we don't see big watches like that already in stores. I don't wear watches, but it's become a thing where they're actually getting bigger. I don't know why, but so this watch is pretty decently sized, and I would wear it because how awesome it is. So, like most watches have to connect to your phone, this watch is a standalone watch, meaning it can pretty much do everything without being connected to anything. It doesn't have to pair to your phone to get the internet connection. It actually will have a chip in there to act as a cell phone if needed. And it can detach from the wristband, which is really cool. And I'll post some pictures up here, hopefully. It runs on an Android Jelly Bean. I don't know what that means, but I think it's fancy. It's got a 320 by 240 screen. It runs apps. They're going to open up an app store for it, so you can seamlessly download apps into your watch. It's got map app capability, so if you can envision having, being able to see where you're going, maybe you're on a trail or something, you can just look down at your cool watch. It's going to have a GPS chip. So now we're thinking, okay, well, that's going to be good for like Google Maps. You'll know where you're at, the map, you're following it. So that'd be awesome. It has a keyboard so you can type. And it's it's not like a BlackBerry button, it's kind of like your iPhone keyboard in there where it's all, touch face. It's got dual cameras, this thing. So you can do a Skype call like this. So you can be like, oh, what's up? Hey, not much. Hey, what's going on with you? And you can talk to your wife or your guys out in the field. Maybe you have some employees, or whatever. So it's got the front facing camera. So you can do that Skype thing, right? Well, it's also got a back facing camera. So if you take it off, it turns into a little video camera, and you can videotape people where they're walking around, and you got the screen there, and you can take like pictures. And if anybody got suspicious, you just pop it back on your wrist, and you got to watch, right? How cool is that? 120 hours standby time, 8 hours talk time. So it's basically like a cell phone. They ran a production because it was a Kickstarter program. I've talked about Kickstarter. It's kind of cool. So they made all these cool watch thingy, Neptune Pine watch, smartwatches for their original backers. They're going to start another production in March. It also has a headphone jack, compared to a Bluetooth. So if you're talking like to people on your phone, like a Skype call or just a call in general, you can just Bluetooth it up. You can just talk without even having to worry about it. So it's like a mini cell phone. It connects to Wi-Fi. And so here's the kicker, right? Just that technology alone, the guy that was being interviewed, was like, so what's it going to be, like $500? What's it going to be? And it's going to be for the 16 gigabyte version. It's going to be $335, which I think this thing could go crazy, like sell a ton of these things. $335. That's still in the price range of a lot of people, especially if you're like a PI and you like gadgets and maybe you're on the road. You like to Skype your family a lot. How cool would it be to have that? Being able to videotape, your subject. Probably, I don't know about if you're going to have a time shot or not, but it sure beats, the watch that I reviewed recently in regards to, I'm going to find a better watch with better cameras so that we could do a better review. But I don't know. I see a lot of, I don't know. I'm hyped up for it, actually. I'd like to see where it goes. Maybe they'll drop that price down just a little bit more for me down the road. But until then, I don't know. You need to check it out. I don't know if Neptune Pine has a website here. Let me see. Neptune Pine. Let's see what we got here. So, yeah, it's neptunepine.com. Check out their watch. It looks like you can be social on there. I didn't even go to the website before I started the podcast here. So you can be fit. You can do they got fit apps. They got entertainment. I'm sure you can watch movies on there. You can have like Netflix, I'm sure, or some crazy things like that. You can make phone calls on there, untethered. It's going to be awesome. I think you guys will be pretty stoked about this, to be able to do Skype calls, for crying out loud. So, check that out. Anyways, until next Tuesday, I don't know if I'm going to have a podcast next Tuesday. So I'm going to try to record another one, before that. So you might get another one before that. We might talk about something else. But if not, I'll catch you on the next Tuesday. I might be out of town. I'm not quite sure. But we'll see. Or at least unavailable. But I'm really happy you guys are listening to this and watching. And, also be sure to check out our sponsor. Now, I could literally talk about websites and SEO. I'm not the master blaster at it. But, if you found this podcast, you found my website, then I know a little bit about it. Because I've got my own website ranked up pretty high. Seems to be working. I get phone calls pretty frequently. I'm happy to say, thank goodness. I don't always get to use it. You get to use all those phone calls. I don't always close the deal, but a lot of times I just pass it along. But if you're looking for advertisement, which just works for you, nonstop, day or night, that's out there just working for you, right? And all you have to do is just create a nice website, get some nice SEO involved in it, search engine optimization, and it can be done. And so I would say go to investigatormarketing.com. And they have a deal. It's Ruben and his team for 15% off for the remainder of January. I don't know what next month's going to be, but today is it will be the 28th, so you might have a couple days to get in on it for this deal. The next deal might be different, but that's for a 5-page website at the minimum, 15% off. Definitely worth it to get that kind of a discount. And give them a call to say, hey, look, I just want to talk about it. Just tell me what you could do for me. He's going to say what he can do. If you don't like it, you don't like it. There's no obligation. But for 15% off, it's a pretty good deal. And, that's it, guys. Investigator Marketing, check them out. And I'm going to go do some work. All right, guys. Take it easy. Hey, go make some money. Go do some surveillance. Go do some recorded statements. And I'll talk with you later.